24 hours after the first chick hatched, and they're all pretty much dried off now. So we're going to take them into the brooder. And I've been told to take the incubator to the brooder, so we're going to do that instead of transferring them by hand. It's quicker that way, less chance of them getting cold, so it makes sense. We do have a few, I think a couple pipped eggs in here that have not made any progress for at least half a day. I don't think they're going to be able to hatch out, but you see that one is still moving and it's getting pestered. And so ideally, I waited as long as I could to get these guys out of there, and at this point I'm just going to make it very, very quick of a transfer so that if that chick can survive, and if the other chick can survive and just hatch out late, that it does not get dry stuck. If they stick to the shell, that's pretty much a death sentence for them. So I'm going to have to do this as quick as possible because there's at least one pipped egg that's still alive. The other one, probably not alive. So for the sake of at least that one, I'm going to do this as quick as I can. I can't do it quick if I'm videotaping, so the transfer part of it is not going to be videotaped, just for the sake of doing it as fast as possible. The pebbles in the water, as people recommended for quail, so that they wouldn't it wouldn't be too deep for them and they wouldn't aspirate on it. And the water also has a little bit of that immunity in there. And look at that, right away, trying to investigate. That's great. One's already found the water. Well, that's faster than chickens would do. So in the food and the water, we have an immunity supplement. Like I was mentioning in the first part of this video, if you haven't watched part 1, please do so, because that explains it in detail. And then also in the food, for the first few days, we have the egg yolk from the hen, a hen that has already gone through that little chicken cold that likes to circulate around our property. I can't get it off once it's here. I've tried, believe me. But it's a very mild cold for chickens. They get over it just fine, but I've heard that a lot of quail issues with viruses and stuff, they can die from something that other fowl might consider, you know, a tiny little cold. So we do have those antibodies in there from that egg yolk. That's why it has to be the yolk and not something cooked. That's why you can only leave it in there for, say, I don't know, 3-4 hours and then take it out, whatever they don't eat, so that, you know, that egg yolk doesn't create bacteria in the brooder. Keep the brooder very clean, clean out the hay, extra stuff like that. But it's worth it because they're getting two things that way, not just an herbal immunity supplement that is, by the way, safe for quail and dosed properly for quail, but they're also getting that natural antibody for this specific little cold, whatever it is, so that if it's one of those little harmless colds to chickens that might kill quail, they have the best chance of fighting this off. So since that's going to be the first few meals, it's messy. I've got that little food pan in there, a very shallow dish so that they can't get stuck in it or anything. But instead of a food dispenser, we've got that. And I actually might keep that even for dry food that's not mixed with anything until they get at least the size of a regular day-old chicken. We've got one quail that screamed a lot after it was born and then didn't move a lot. You can see this quail right here. The other two are moving their heads around, and that one's just kind of laying there. It's been really lethargic and really weak, wobbly head. Doesn't move around much since birth. I don't know what was wrong with it, but obviously it hatched out. Something's not right. So if it eats, it might live. And get rid of some of that weakness. But if it doesn't, then it's probably sadly going to die. And still, you know, 18 chicks from 20 eggs that we have hatched out in 24 hours, that is not bad. Everybody is now kind of going to sleep because they just ate their first meal and they're pretty sleepy. So, not going to be much excitement in this video probably, but, or this part of the video anyway, but, we had 18 quail hatch out from 20 eggs. Only that one that was weak, and the rest of them seem to be, you know, normal strength, healthy chicks, which is far better than what I thought would happen. So, you know, I can't complain with that. We had the other 2 eggs. One actually pipped and died shortly after it pipped. The other one has pipped but has not made any progress, like I said, in over 12 hours. We are hoping that since it's still alive, it'll just hatch out really late. But again, that's hope. That's not statistics. So, not giving up on that one yet. It did not dry stick. Transfer was made in about 25 seconds, so not enough time, at least this time, for it to dry stick. I guess the conditions could dry stick that fast, potentially, but this time it didn't. So it's not stuck in the shell, it's just, you know, slow hatching, so it may be okay, who knows. I do know that this weak one was one of the last to hatch out. Don't know if it was the last, but it was one of the last. And, you know, anytime they start taking a long time, you do wonder, you know, for quail, for it to take that long, I've read that's not normal. For chickens, you know, it's normal, but typically once quail pip, you know, they should be out in 12 hours from what I've read. Well, we got a few that are waking up now, so it might not be as boring. But, you can see that one chick just, I mean, consistently just does not really get up much at all. Picks his head up every once in a while, but that's about it. Everybody else, you know, takes turns sleeping and eating, so. And they're not out of the woods yet, most definitely not. I mean, they won't be until at least the first 2-3 weeks of life. Given the weak chick a little bit of an opportunity here, I've put it directly in the food pan, and it perked up just enough to try and eat a little bit. So that is a very good sign that it's at least trying to eat. And this other chick is pestering it the whole time, but you know, it's at least trying. So that's a very good sign. That does not mean it's going to live, but you know, any food and water that it takes in is gonna, you can see how wobbly it is compared to all the other chickens, sorry, all the other quail chicks. I'm used to saying chickens. You can see how wobbly it is standing beside that, side to side. That brown chick has no problems at all walking, and that little one does. So we'll hope for the best and see how it goes with this one. But I'm very pleased that it at least wants to eat and drink. Mentioned in part 1 to this, the quail can't just, you know, go free range first day they're born. They need to go in the brooder for 2 reasons. They have a heat lamp that is keeping them warm. They'll need that for the first few weeks, and then they also need to grow big enough to be able to, you know, have a chance against predators. So, unfortunately, right now, you know, this is going to be, until they're about 6 weeks of age, this is going to be their home. And then finally at 6 weeks of age is when we're going to start the actual experiment part of this, which is to see whether or not they can do in a truly free-range environment without flying away. So the plan is to get them pretty socialized and used to humans, get them accustomed to, you know, looking to humans for rewards and treats and things. Like I said in the first video, they apparently, from what I've read, can be trained to go into the coop at night, just like just like chickens, but you do have to train them. It's not an instinct. So my plan is to give them a voice command, which is what actually somebody else had recommended, every time I feed them, and then they will eventually pick up on that as that meaning food, and then I can take that from there and train them to go into the coop for the food. So we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously right now you're not going to know, but I do, even at this young, sounds silly, but I am, every time I change out the food and put new food in there, I'm gonna tell them food, or come get food, something like that. And it's going to be the same thing every time, whatever I decide on, so that they really associate that word with, oh, that's when the food comes.